All right, get ready for something truly mind-bending. We're about to dive into a framework that connects ancient scripture with the absolute cutting edge of modern physics. We're going to explore how one of the Quran's most famous paradoxes might actually be a kind of roadmap for understanding reality itself. Our whole journey today kicks off with this famous question. For centuries, it's been seen as a metaphor for the impossible, a lesson in humility. But what if, and this is a big what if, it's not a metaphor at all? What if it's a technical instruction for a profound kind of transformation? Well, the source material we're looking at today suggests a pretty radical answer. The barrier, that needle's eye, it stays put. The secret to getting through isn't about changing the universe around you, but about changing yourself. A deep, physical transformation from the inside out. And that journey begins in a very unexpected place. Okay, let's dive in. Here's our plan. We're going to start by uncovering the camel's biological secret. Then, we'll leap into the quantum realm to see how we might just tunnel through the impossible. After that, we'll look at what part of us is truly timeless, how that reflects the cosmos, and finally, we'll map out the personal path to what this framework calls ascension. So, let's start with the camel itself. The key, the secret that unlocks this entire framework, comes down to a simple and, frankly, an astonishing biological fact about how these animals survive under incredible pressure. You see, a camel's hump isn't a water tank. It's a massive reserve of fat. And when it's under the extreme pressure of the desert, the heat, the thirst, the stress, the camel's body literally metabolizes that fat, that stored energy, and turns it into life-sustaining water. It doesn't find life, it creates it from within. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. The source material maps this biochemical process directly onto a spiritual one. It suggests that stored fat is like our stored faith, a reserve of potential. The oxygen we breathe is like the spirit, and the heat, the pressure of the desert, well, that's the trial, the struggles of life. So under that trial, a believer doesn't just hang on. They metabolize their faith into active mercy and energy. And this idea plays out powerfully in the story of Maryam, or Mary. She's under this immense pressure, both social and physical, all alone. And she doesn't just find an oasis. A stream appears from beneath her. According to this framework, she literally metabolized her trial, her stored faith, into living water. So, we've seen this principle work on a biological level. Pretty amazing, right? But now, we're going to scale it up into the strange, mind-bending world of quantum physics. If pressure can turn fat into water, what could it do to the very fabric of our being? In the quantum world, the rules of our everyday reality just don't apply. A particle can hit a solid wall, and instead of bouncing off, it can just pop up on the other side. It's called quantum tunneling. It's almost like the particle stops being a solid thing for a moment and becomes a wave of pure possibility, letting it slip right through the impossible. This framework suggests this is exactly what happens to a person under trial. Our ordinary self, the ego, or the nafs in the Quran, is like a solid particle made of clay. It's rigid, it's blocked. It just can't get through the needle's eye. But under that intense spiritual pressure, it's proposed that we undergo a phase transition, shifting from that solid state to a fluid, wave-like state of light or water. And that's the crucial point right there. The challenge, the trial, the needle's eye of judgment, it doesn't change. It's an absolute barrier. But you can change. You can change your fundamental state to one that can pass right through it, just like a quantum particle tunneling through a wall. Okay, so we've transformed, and we've passed through the barrier. But what is it exactly that makes the journey? Is it our body, our personality? Well, this leads us to another fascinating paradox from the Quran. So in this story, a man is shown an incredible sign. His donkey, his physical ride, decays completely over 100 years, following the laws of entropy. But his food, his provisions, they're perfectly preserved, untouched by time. So what's the deep physical principle being shown here? It turns out one of the most fundamental laws of our universe, something physicists hold as almost sacred, is that information can never truly be lost. Physical things can break down, energy can scatter, but the underlying information that defines a system, the blueprint, that's conserved forever. In a very real sense, it's timeless. So this framework applies that law directly to the paradox. The donkey represents the physical body, the ego, the nafs. It's matter, right? So it's subject to decay and entropy. But the fruit is interpreted as truth, as righteous deeds, as pure information. It's the software, not the hardware. And according to this model, it's the information, the software, that survive. Now let's zoom out one last time. We've gone from biology to quantum physics to information theory. But how does this personal journey of transformation mirror the very structure of the cosmos itself? Well, the Quran seems to describe creation from two different perspectives. There's this outside view, he forms you in the wombs, which is like the physical hardware being built. And then there's an inside view, he knows your secret, which is the software, the information, the wave of potential within. This really echoes a mind-bending idea in physics called the holographic principle, which suggests all the information in a 3D space can be described by what's on its 2D surface, just like a hologram. A cosmological theory cited in the source, the dual caustic model, suggests that some of the big tensions we see in the universe, like arguments about its expansion rate, happen because we're looking at it through two different lenses at the same time. One lens shows a stable, predictable system. The other shows a system that's losing energy, like an engine. The point is, reality isn't one or the other. It's a single process that we're viewing in two different ways. So, after all this physics and cosmology, what's the actual takeaway? I mean, how does this apply to an individual? Well, this framework actually distills this entire cosmic process into a clear, step-by-step path for personal transformation. And here it is, a 7-step algorithm. Let's just walk through it. First, you hold the book. You secure that timeless truth. Then, you accept the pressure, using it to metabolize the nafs, just like the camel metabolizes fat. This generates water, producing mercy from within. This whole reaction causes a phase shift, turning you from solid clay into liquid light. This new state lets you tunnel through the barrier. And finally, because your core information, your fruit, was preserved, you reemerge, totally reconstructed on the other side. And this, right here, might be the most profound point of the entire framework. Ascension isn't about going to heaven. It's a metabolic process. It's about using the pressures of this life to fundamentally transform your state of being into one that's compatible with the next one. And this personal journey is perfectly mirrored in the cosmos. Just like our spiritual state can shift from a particle to a wave, the source suggests that even the universe's expansion looks different depending on the lens you use. The tension isn't a contradiction. It's just a projection of a single, unified reality. And that leaves us with one final, fascinating question to think about. This framework paints a picture of a universe that we're participating in, one where the great laws of physics and our most private spiritual struggles aren't separate things, but are reflections of the exact same process, a universe that isn't just happening to us, but is maybe, just maybe, waiting for us to happen within it.